So my name's Corey Hackler. Really excited to be here presenting on kind of lean leadership for a general contractor back in the US, DPR Construction. And just kind of want to talk through, how are we implementing lean and what are the things that we're seeing are working for us in our company moving forward. This is kind of going on year 2.5 of this program. And so what I want to do is kind of share some of the stuff that we've learned as we've gone through this training. So what is lean leadership? How many of you guys in here have tried to teach lean construction, just lean in general, right? So everybody's tried to teach it. It's challenging, right? It's really difficult. It's hard to understand what does lean mean. So what we tried to do was define some of the skills that are involved in lean at DPR. One of the great things about the concepts that we came up with is it addresses any role in the company. So we're doing things that are not just teaching the last planner, which really kind of focuses on lean as far as production planning and those things. What this does is really allows us to address any role in the company with the concepts that we go through. So we'll get into some more of those here in a second. So the other thing that we started to do was try and figure out ways that people could teach themselves, right? We don't have enough time to go out and spend time with each of our employees and train each employee on what does lean mean. So what we did is we had offered basically 2 routes. We have a 90-minute online course, which people can take at their own pace. They can sign up, go through the course as they want to, or they can sign up for the Lean Leadership course, which is an 8-week course. We have basically 2 hours of homework every week and a 1-hour phone call. In the phone call, we're able to really discuss how can we implement these ideas on our projects? Are we doing it already? How can we share this with others in our company to actually start improving on those skill sets? So I think one key thing here is just offering training that people can go and do on their own. On top of that, that gets into our Lean Leadership class, which again, we were discussing that is basically an 8-week course. All the different concepts, which I'll talk about here in just one second, and getting into really study action teams with people all across the country. So, some things that we've noticed is groups that go through this in each business unit, they're able to kind of use it in their business unit and teach others and educate their teams a little bit more in depth. So how do we start off? I think the first thing we do is we start off with what's the difference between a traditional thinker and a lean thinker? So lean thinkers on the right, traditional thinkers on the left. So we started the basics, right? We're hiring so many employees, we don't know what skill sets they already have. So we're trying to start with the basics and say, here's the difference between thinking as a lean thinker versus a traditional thinker. And this really gets people's minds starting to transition, right? And change from the traditional ways of running business and running work. Great conversations around this and really good information. And then as we go through all the different 8 weeks, we really get into a lot of deeper concepts. And what we're trying to do is hopefully at the end of the training, we're teaching a lot about process thinking, and we're hoping to promote our employees to say, instead of blaming people, let's look at a process. Usually it's a process that falls apart, and that's what happens to bring in our failures. So the traditional thinkers of the past are difficult in trying to think through things. They always want to blame people, and this is more driven around how can I help? And I think the top of this is really, that's kind of the driver, right? Is instead of blaming people, it's how can I help? How can we get better? And promoting that learning environment. So here's the 13 different topics that we cover in the 8 weeks. It starts with traditional thinking on the top and then moves its way around the circle. You guys have probably heard about a lot of these concepts and ideas, but some of these concepts and ideas are new. So it really helps us to kind of understand different ways of doing things. And like I said, you can apply any of these concepts to any role in the company. It's not based on a role specific. We've had a number of different people go through it. So I think some of the great things is, leading as a student and teacher is one of the concepts, and it's really about, teaching with our experienced people that have been in the trades forever, teaching the younger kids, but also as the kids come out of school, they're learning things that we have no idea about, right? So being open to having that two-way communication and not always wanting to do it the old way, which is one of the challenges that we get with trying to teach and implement lean ideas. One other concept I just wanted to hit on real quickly is leader standard work, I think, is a new concept to people. But we go into a whole conversation about how can we standardize our work week, right? How can we say this is, okay, on Tuesdays I'm going to have 1 hour where I'm going to do nothing but my submittals. Often in construction we're getting pulled in 5 different directions and not able to set leader standard work. So that's one other thing that we kind of get into. So we have a number of students go through this, and I'm just going to flip through a bunch of slides here. So watch the slide deck or watch the screen, and you'll see why lean is so different or so difficult for us to teach. So you can see, so what we have people do with this information, we have them do a self-assessment. Those are all self-assessments that you could see. So each individual person comes from a predisposed way of upbringing, right? So you usually learn or teach or do things based on what your parents have taught you. So as you guys can see, there's a number of different things that people take away, and people learn differently, they understand concepts differently, so it makes it really challenging to try and implement and teach concepts like this. The best thing about doing a self-assessment right here is you see a lot of differences, right? You see a lot of people's scores all across the board. But the one great thing about this is we share it with everybody in the course, right? So what they can do is if this was my score and I scored really low on reflection, what I can do is see this score and they scored really high on reflection. So we're promoting internal teaching, right? So people can teach each other. We don't have time to teach everybody. So we're really trying to get to more of a collaborative environment of even educating each other on how do these concepts work. And what I can do then is say, hey, you're scoring high on reflection. I scored low. What are you doing? How are you getting there, right? And how can that help me improve my skill set? One other thing that we're doing from this information is we're actually collecting the data and analyzing it for us as DPR. So what you can see on the right-hand side, and the left-hand side is how many people have been through it and by location. On the right-hand side, it really is an average score of all of our students. So we've had 330 students go through the course at this point. We started about 2.5 years ago. And so this gives us a really good idea as a company, where do we want to improve? Where do we want to focus to try and get better? And our 4 areas for improvement for us is focus, alignment, constancy of purpose, reflection, effective measurement, and value stream thinking, which are a lot of the things that we talk about in all the presentations you've seen so far. Some of the goals kind of moving forward. So we started this in 2017. We had 170 students go through the class. In 2018, we're on track to make 450. And by 2019, we're hopefully going to have 1,000 people through the class. So it's been a lot of good feedback, and we've collected a lot of good results. So you guys have seen this slide about trust, and there's a lot of things in Lean that drive these ideas and concepts. But I think the last one is one that I usually focus on is deliver reliable results based on what's best for the project. So a lot of the times we want to deliver reliable results, but it's hard to make decisions. And as long as we're making decisions based on what's best for the project, we're going to come out better off in the end, right? So it's important to always kind of drive to that key idea. So one thing that hopefully you guys can take away from the presentation is the PDCA process. And this is a simple way to walk away with it. And when we start looking at processes, we want to be better process thinkers and analyze the process so that we can move forward. So in process thinking, we want to ask ourselves, is there a baseline and is it documented? If there's not, then we want to develop and document the baseline. If there is a baseline, the next question is it being followed, right? So if it is being followed, then it's great, right? But if it's not being followed, then we do a root cause. Maybe the baseline needs to be adjusted. Maybe it's old, maybe it doesn't work for this job, but what we want to do is make sure that we have a baseline and it is being followed. So if we have a baseline and it is being followed, then we can get to improving. We can't get to the last section until we have the previous 2 sections figured out, right? So getting a baseline, getting it documented, is it being followed, then we can start to improve. So that's PDCA in a simple way explained. So kind of what we're trying to get to in moving forward with the lean leadership training is this is kind of where we're at. So 2016, when we first started implementing these ideas, I think the ideas of lean leadership, the 13 ideas that you just saw, the 13 concepts, they were kind of over here. They were all new. People were trying to figure out what did it even mean. So in 2016, we were kind of up here. The managers, all of the roles of the company, they knew about lean, but they maybe didn't really know how they applied to their role. So what we've done now is our journey kind of as of now is we've gone more over to the concepts idea, right? And so we're trying to train people in those 13 different topics. And right now we're getting through, like I said, with 300 students. So we're trying to do there is continue growing that education and having them promote and teach others in the class. So one of the goals moving forward in 2019 is hopefully we're starting to get the concepts pretty much figured out, and we're kind of merging those two with the roles, right? So we're right in the middle where the concepts and the roles are starting to come together so that we can get closer to obviously having this be a lean culture within our company. And that's kind of one of the challenges here in teaching the lean leadership class. Some of the biggest values we've seen is we've now taught 13 classes of 9 weeks in each class, and we continue to learn ourselves, right? So after 13 classes, looking at continuous improvement, we continue to learn more about what's working and what's not. This course has been completely built on our customers. Our customers are our DPR employees, and what we've done every round is we've asked, what do you like and what would you like to see improved? And so a lot of the feedback we get, we try and take and implement in the next rounds. And some of the things that we do is we've taken the course content and we've taught it from a DPR perspective. So we've taught it from a constructor's perspective with our own internal DPR teachers. So we've seen a lot of value in that and getting better with samples and examples from our job sites, which really makes kind of goes a long way with teaching these concepts and ideas. But we've also seen a lot of our pre-con people go through this, a lot of our admin people, and they've seen value in it just the same. So out of teaching 303 people in the class, 330 people in the class, we've asked one question is, would you suggest this course for others in the company? And out of those 330 people, I think we've had one person say no. And this is all volunteer, so they're volunteering 9 weeks of their time on top of their regular jobs. So that's kind of told me that we're hitting on something right here, and I think it's helping us change the environment at DPR. Thank you.